Good evening, everybody. This is Ian Murphy, the moderator, coming to you live here. I know it's been some time since I've seen your faces, or you've seen mine, I should say. I just wanted to reach back out. It's been about a month and a half, had some things going on in life, needed to address, needed to take care of before I could really jump into really hopping back on here and going live. Unfortunately, in the meantime, Facebook has changed its policy because I am not someone that usually goes out there and looks for people to follow and get that kind of following. I am unable to broadcast on my own page, so I would like to thank Get Haunted, um, as well as YouTube, for continuing to host me here on some of these rambling, ridiculous evenings where, yeah, I just kind of hop on and have a little bit of fun. I'm actually going to be talking about two different locations tonight. Had the opportunity to join Denise Empey. I don't know if anybody's ever had a chance to meet her. I know a lot of you have. We had a chance to go down to the Conjuring House with her and some of her group and friends. Had an absolute excellent time. My wife and I were able to join. And then also the Oliver House over in, I believe it's Middleborough, Massachusetts. It's either Middleborough or Bridgewater. I can't remember which town it's in. But both of these locations historically have been considered evil, right? Negative energies, places that would often kind of categorize themselves as housing demons or other negative energy and things like that. So I thought it was really cool to be able to go over there and just check it out for myself, right? Feel what was in there, see what, if realistically my perspectives are true, right? I've personally always gone under the idea that you are going to get out of a location the kind of energy that you bring in. And so I've always said I don't believe in demon houses. I don't believe in demonic, locations or anything like that. I think anybody that typically is trying to claim, this location is a demon house. This location is outright evil or bad. I typically look at those as individuals went into that home or into that location or into that site with a particular energy and a particular idea of what they thought was going to happen and how it was going to happen. And lo and behold, I think that actually does happen, right? Like we bring in that energy to houses like the Conjuring House, and the negativity that we bring in and the insecurity that we bring in and the turmoil that we bring in gets amplified by these locations. Is almost if like that location is a resonant point, right? Where we're able to actually tap into some of the information. Hey, Denise. Hey, Courtney. Um, Rob has a wonderful story of his experience there. Not a terribly great experience, but overall a really good takeaway from there. A lot of other folks have said the same thing. The Conjuring House has caused issue. They were upset. They didn't feel comfortable. They felt like there was an overbearing force there. I went there, and I'm going to tell you, we all went with real good positivity, happy vibes. Really excited to really experience the location. We got what could only be described as a physical manifestation, visual manifestation in the basement, where we were able to interact and lights were able to change and dim and brighten and move and widen and narrow, all verbally, all based on verbal interactions and things like that. So we had solid interaction, so it wasn't devoid of interaction. But as the night progressed, it became really, really clear that there wasn't anything malicious going on. There wasn't any bad energy or some kind of horrible force bearing down on us. If anything, there was a little bit of playfulness, there was a little bit of excitement as we were in there. And truthfully, like having slept there, hey, Andrew, thank you for joining in. As we were spending the night there, I got an incredibly sound night's sleep in the Conjuring House. I woke up feeling completely refreshed. I didn't feel drained. I didn't feel overbearing. I didn't have nightmares. I didn't have any negative experience whatsoever. And in fact, it was a really overall positive experience. The gentleman who actually was hosting us, he came in very early on, gave us as much information on the house as we wanted, and then he came back the next morning, and it was actually really, really positive experience in this house, not only from an investigation perspective, but from just a personal perspective. Everybody there was phenomenal. We all got along really well. It was an exciting time. It was a really cool time. Got to see some different equipment that folks were using, got to see some of the different approaches they were taking. Denise has a very, very, very specific way that she does things, which I dig. It's not my style, but I love watching her and I love being around her while she goes. I think it's really cool and really nice to be able to see those different types of interactions, those different approaches, those different styles, especially in a location that's relatively infamous, right? Like everybody has heard about the Conjuring House. Everyone has heard the stories of the horrible spirits and the demons that plague it. And I mean, and again, I'm not going to discredit what the Warrens went through or anything like that or any of the story there. You know, they experienced what they experienced, and I've said it a bunch of times. I never disbelieve that somebody experienced something. I only would argue that I'm probably not going to experience the same thing if I was in the same place, right? So all of our experiences are very different. They're very much our own experiences. Hey, Adam, how are we doing? It is. It's an incredibly cozy. It's an incredibly cozy home. I love the layout. I love that they have the nice little library there. My wife was able to actually experience a manifestation that she couldn't really explain in the library. It was pretty cool. Figure appeared, um, almost guided by Denise Empey, to manifest in the room as a dark shadow, a shadow figure. An absence of light is really how I would probably best describe it. Andrew, I'll be honest, man. You know, people talk about the expense of these locations, right? And this is actually a really good point. I'm glad you brought it up. I don't know, where is everybody from? I got 6 viewers in here. Just throw up a state that you're in, just out of curiosity. Edinburgh, Scotland. All right, perfect. Thank you. Um, that's cool. Love seeing overseas. All right, Connecticut, Andrew. All right, so you know, man, in Connecticut, what's the cheapest hotel you're gonna get? 150, 200, 225, unless you're dealing with gunshots, burnt sheets, and a tobacco smell in the room. Pennsylvania, same deal, anywhere from 100 to 150 for a halfway decent hotel room. Now, with a place like the Conjuring House, right? We're actually going to be renting it back out in November. And all we did was reach out to our friend group that's actually, and it doesn't even have to necessarily be a friend group. Anybody that you know is also interested in investigating or in these locations. I think we're paying like 155 or 160 a head to be able to go and do an overnight. Yeah. Tent site, $15. Yeah. However, I will say that the Conjuring House does have tent sites right now. They are significantly more expensive than $15, though. They're glamping. They're doing like the yurts in the back with a fire pit area and out in the woods by the house. It's actually pretty cool. Something I'd be more interested in. But realistically, yeah, exactly, Andrew. You know, we hear this sticker shock of where it's like, oh, it's going to be $3,000, or it's going to be 1,500, or it's going to be 2,000, or it's going to be 1,000 or 500 for these locations. But the reality is it's an overnight stay for up to anywhere, depending on the location, 8 to 12 people. That's a relatively low cost when you go per head. Now, am I ever going to go to the Conjuring House by myself and pay $1,500 for just me to go? No, that's definitely not in the cards. I'm not going to do it, but I am going to get 7, 8 of my friends together, and we're going to be able to go ahead and package it together and come out of it relatively inexpensively. Being part of the Warner Paranormal Preservation Society, hey Kim, honey, we deal with it a lot where folks want to investigate our location, and I'll be honest, it's pretty odd. We don't typically hear people complaining about the price. And a lot of it comes, I think, from the fact that it is a group experience, right? These are supposed to be group shared experiences where you're going in with yeah. Oh, yeah, perfect. Yeah, the all access pass to the castles and different sites. Ireland does something similar, where you can actually go in and see the grounds. However, I don't know, in Scotland, Damien, do they let you do overnight? Because that'd be a total game changer. $160 a year to do overnights in any castle in the country would be absolutely amazing. I'll sleep on stone beds. I don't mind. But yeah, I mean, you look at the Hart Stuff Hall, which is Civil War U.S. Civil War building. It was built in 1899 for the veterans of Civil War. We actually run that location, and that's $425 for an evening, and that's usually a 4 to 6 hour rental. You're actually getting 7 to like 1 o'clock in the morning, depending on if you want to go, how late you want to go, and that's for up to 8 people. And so you will see a lot of times. Yeah, prearranged extra cost possibly, and no satanic worship. No cult. Cults are allowed, but no satan. As long as it's not a satanic cult, we're good to go. I wonder how they'd feel about druidic. Some of the old Celt religions coming in there and doing some of their old rituals there. But the other house that we were able to actually go to over the past month was the Oliver House. That one as well has a very sordid background. The history is relatively convoluted. There are stories from the caretaker who's had interactions with the spirits there. She has had her own experiences and her own takeaways from those conversations. There are some historical records. Pretty much no matter what, there was not a lot of positivity happening at this house. It was a relatively oligarchical, wealthy family that was in there that definitely took advantage of a lot of the rural nature of the area as they were establishing. They were run off. Any sites you thought, don't fancy returning? No, Damien. The only time that like I wouldn't want to go back to a place most of the time is going to be related to its distance or its convenience. Like, so if it's incredibly inconvenient to get to, it's not terribly active, or it's just like it really is absurdly priced. There are some locations that I do think are like you're kind of out of your mind on. There's one, I'm not going to name it, but they wanted like $3,000 for a 4-hour investigation for 5 people. No cameras allowed, like no video cameras allowed, only photographic cameras. And that just seems like you're asking for too much. That location isn't probably going to be around too much longer. They are kind of floundering and falling down. Yeah, I mean, some people do get delusional about pricing. I'm not going to argue that. I mean, that is a fact. But for the most part, energies in locations, I think, are just a reflection of what you're bringing in. So to me, yeah. Hopefully not yours. You can go find some to sell. But the reality to me is the more inner turmoil you're going through, the worse your experience with energies outside yourself are going to be. So when you go into a location, if you're having a very negative reaction to a location, you're having a very very hostile reaction to a place, I think a lot of the time you're going to need to step back and take a look at what you're personally going through and some of the things that might be some part of you that's being latched onto and amplified, that's actually feeding that negativity in the space and is feeding whatever energy or entity or nexus or reverberating force, whatever that actually is. Take a deeper look into yourself and see what you're struggling with internally and see if that resonates with the type of negativity or hostility that you actually experience in that location. Because I'll tell you, I am a lot of things. I am very self-aware. I know I'm the problem, right? I know there are personal growth things that I have to do on a regular basis. There are things that I really need to be mindful of and take ownership of. And I try to best I can. I know my wife's in the comment section here. She's watching. So I'm sure she'll have some things that I might need to do better on as far as taking ownership. But the reality is I accept who I am and what I am and how I am. And so I think that more than anything else is my armor going into those types of locations where other people have felt negative, other people have been, maligned or felt malicious spirits. I just haven't. And I think that just comes from being open with yourself before you're open with the space you're in. Yeah, and I don't think it's mood, Damien. When I say that like there's something to look inside it, it's not mood that I'm talking about. I mean, I've been pissy and aggravated and upset, especially at Heartstuff Hall, and the energies don't change. I mean, more core, more of like really genuine self, an idea of self and a knowledge of self. I think pads you from putting out negative energy to be fed upon. And so, if you're struggling with an self identity, you're struggling with guilt, you're struggling with, your own ability to regulate. I know a lot of, just from personal experience, and this is not to criticize anyone out there. Um, I've met a large number of individuals that have struggled with substance abuse that are in the paranormal, and they talk a lot of the time about all of these negative experiences they've had, these malicious spirits, these demons, these hostile beings that have come at them and plagued them in locations, and really just kind of stripped them of the peace that they had while they were in those locations. How much of it is external demons and how much of it is internal demons? And that's my personal belief. That's how I operate for me. I'm not saying anyone else needs to do that. And truly, like, if that's your experience, that's your experience. Um, yeah, no. Oh, I'm actually getting a message from Trevor here. In true ADHD fashion, we were having two conversations and he missed one of them. But no, it's really about the energy that you personally have in your day to day, and what kind of energy you're bringing to it. That's the only time for me. Let me see here. I have no idea if he's actually looking at joining, but I'll send it to him anyway. All right, yeah, he said he's going to kick up, and if anybody else wants to come on, just talk about your experiences at either of these locations or how you feel. I never cleanse either, Damien. I kind of go through my day to day, trying to purge that negativity off me anyway. And so the idea that going into a location is going to give me more than I normally could potentially give myself, I don't buy it. Right? Like, I love going through being happy, being goofy, being an idiot most of the time. Um, and it's really hard to keep a negative energy around you when you can't take it serious. Negativity is to me, is a very serious feeling, a very, very high intensity energy. And if you can't give it any credence and you can't give it any validity, it dies. It dies on the vine. It bleeds out, and it can't stick with you. So that is cool. Trevor is going to hop on. Um, Fort Duffield. All right. I think I just got invited to come out somewhere. Oh, I think I did. Denise Pack just came up. Well, so I actually Damien, I have a question on this. You say you have 400 plus attachments from the spirits you've helped. They're my shield. One entity is against you. So you have one negative and 400 plus positive. All right, I'll keep rambling on, and if you pop up with the answer, just let me know here. But yeah, Denise, if you are out there, if you are watching, I will not absolutely will not use the word demon. I think it's laughable. and again, this goes back to some of my other perspectives on the whole paranormal and religion and things like that, where demons. There was, I think, 144 total, half the heavenly host, which was 288, I think, in the original text. And I just don't. I haven't. I don't travel in circles that are important enough for one of 100 demons who, I'm assuming, if there are demons out there, right, they want to destroy the world, and they want to have the most impact as possible. They're just not getting it with me. I'm not the guy. I'm not. I don't impact enough people for them to take interest, I don't think. And for me to think, what do you call a nasty priest? Catholic. But I just don't. I don't think I'm important enough. I don't have the pride enough to think that a demon would spend time on me. Certainly not trying to attach itself and coming for a ride. So I don't know. I think that's all kind of goofy. But no, the Oliver House, I will say, was, to me, was a little bit more interesting than the Conjuring House, and I think that there was that was internal. I had hyped up the Conjuring House quite a bit, and I was like, oh, it's going to be crazy, like, something's going to touch me and things are going to move, and I did have something actually touch me. I did have a physical contact. I did have conversations. I where using devices, I was able to get question and answer. And I was able to get a couple of other different things, and it was really cool. And we got Trevor in here. Just give me the thumbs up when you're ready for me to pop you up. All right.
What's up?
Not too much, Trevor. So Trevor, one of my fellow ADHDers, just figured I'd kick on and have him come up and talk about different energies and that perspective on the ADHD side, because we are chaotic in our energy. Yes. And so I think it's hard for us to get attachments, or for us to really get hit with negative energies in a location.
Yeah.
Because you have to actually reverberate, and you have to kind of align energies for that, and energies are just all over the place. And so, but in the Oliver House, I will say this was particularly cool. We had a yes no box. We actually had 2 yes no boxes set up. Okay. And they were on opposite ends. We had one at the top of a stairwell, one at the bottom of a stairwell. And we were having a conversation with someone upstairs, and both boxes were going off with the same answer at the same time in question answer, right? So we were able to ask a question. Yes would ping on both within about a second or two of each other. Richie.
Hey, Damien, and hey, Richie. How's it going?
Am I loud? Am I coming through loud on this?
You seem fine to me. I mean, my headphones aren't terribly turned up loud, and you're not yelling.
All right, fair enough.
I think he's just being a butthole.
Being him?
I think he's being what the fuck, not a northerner.
Browser?
A fucking, I think he's being a Boston. Yeah, I think he's being a Bostoner, or I forget what they call it. It's a friendly, joking term they use for that accent. I forget what the fuck it's called, but that's
all right. So Trevor wants to talk shit about Boston, so he gets the 30-second penalty box here. So I'll bring him back up in a second, but you're gonna keep my city's name out your mouth. You understand?
Out your fucking mouth.
I brought you back just to drop the F-bomb. That was perfect.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. Sorry.
Yep. But no, I think it's really important that the conversation happens around the different energies that you bring into a place. And I think that for you and I, as far as the ADHD goes, and how we actually have to regulate our own, our own energy and our own self-reflection, I think it's important to have that kind of conversation. And I appreciate you jumping on too.
Of course.
I was completely prepared to monologue for an hour. But yeah, so yeah, Scotland is no snowflake. Let her rip.
But yeah,
wait a minute, no, hold on. Scotland's no snowflake. So I'm actually kind of curious because you are from Scotland. How did you feel when when America won the Cricket World Cup, the Cricket World Championship, with like part-time players that had to take time off of their job to go play you and the other cricket playing countries of the world, and then we destroyed you with part-time cricket players. Did you hear about this, Trevor?
I don't know nothing about cricket.
Yeah, so it's a game where you try to break sticks with a ball, and then you try to hit the ball with a different stick.
So baseball?
No.
Okay.
When who? Sorry, lost. Oh, Damien. Yeah. No, so the U.S. cricket team competed globally. Okay.
Okay.
And so this is like a softball league level players.
Okay.
This is like guys league softball players who all like leave their day job for a period of time to go to the Cricket World Championship. Now, India, England, Scotland, most of the UK countries, and a multitude of other countries, cricket is bigger than baseball, bigger than football, like rivals soccer in a lot of these countries. And we showed up with a bunch of part-timers and wrecked them. The U.S. is the cricket champion of the world right now because like 9 guys took the week off of work to go compete.
That sounds weird.
It does, right? But
It's like, hey, let's just take off work and go win a championship.
No, that's pretty much what happened. Like a bunch of guys took time off of work and then went over and destroyed them. Yeah, wrecked them, damn near killed them.
Wrecked them near.
But Trevor, I gotta ask: have you been to either the Conjuring House or the Oliver House?
Been to the Conjuring House, yes. Never been to the Oliver House.
Okay, what was your experience at the Conjuring House?
My experience at the Conjuring House was very active, but as far as like good or evil, it was very. It was very active, but I didn't feel trying to let my brain piece together like how I put this. So, I got a great series of events there. I'll start with what I know instead of thinking about how I feel about it. So, okay. The only thing that happened there that whole night was the door opened by itself that led to the library, one of those double doors, and at the end of the night, I had Ovilus in my hand, REM pod beside the floor, and I was in the living room or the seance room. On the REM pod, not the REM pod, on the Ovilus, I got the word beside. This was like after over the course of like half an hour. It took a while. Mm-hmm. Got beside on the Ovilus. I'm like, okay, well, who's beside me? The 30 seconds later, the REM pod went off. I'm like, cool, thank you. Where are you at now? Are you moving? And the next thing you know, I heard a ka-thunk. And I'm like, that was in the library. So I went in there. The globe that was in the library had got lifted off its hinges, turned sideways, and dropped through the thing. Poltergeist from my experience. And I'm like, oh shit, alright, cool. So then we heard some noise upstairs, went upstairs, thought it was guests. It was not. And I didn't notice till I got home, and I caught a figure on my camera. So it was very active, but between how my brain works and how I was constantly in the mindset of, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? I'm listening very carefully. I'm hyper analyzing every millisecond of what's happening. I didn't feel any sort of negative energy. I didn't feel any sort of any sort of manipulation, good or bad. There was no I'm feeling weird. It was just I was constantly in the mindset of I getting a chain of evidence. This happened. These could be the next outcomes. Wait for it. So it was more or less kind of waiting for the next event to happen. I never once felt different. And once again, like you said, I think because how our mind erases so much, I don't think that either the spirits have the ability to stay in tune with us, or we just don't have the ability to stay in tune with the spirits. Not because we don't want to be, but just because doing so. Because I could say for certain, but we don't know. Say hypothetically there was a surefire way to attune to a spiritual energy, like a dead set way. Like no matter who it is, you have 1 to 3 different ways to play. Okay, this is how you get on the same frequency of Ted the Spirit, right? So even if me and you try to do a surefire way to get in tune with the spirit, to get a attachment, I don't think that once we're there, the spirit is going to be in the same frequency that it was a second ago, 10 seconds ago, a minute ago. So it's just hard for us to not only get attuned, but even spiritually know how. And yeah, I'm sure like you can train yourself through like meditation, Reiki. Those are just 2 random examples. Those aren't specifically more important than the other. But I've been trying for years to to not like get an attachment and get partially possessed by some demon, but like in a hypothetical sense. I'm not even sure if demons are what demons say they are, but
well, I mean, for me, I think that's probably the closest definition that we have that they could use.
Yeah. So like, because I recently
what? What'd you recently do? Are you recently talked smack about Boston? I heard.
Turn off the feedback. I can hear myself. turn off that. I know you're my number 1 fan, but.
All right, Trevor, keep going, man. We don't want to. Keep talking your smack.
So, in other words, I've been to Boston once, and ever since then, the spirits just... I'm kidding. So, I feel like... Okay, so let me give you a good example of this. Because speaking in broad terms is maybe confusing to some people out there. I have a local cemetery called Pilot's Knob. I've been there for over a decade. Back in high school, from 2013 to 2018, I went there every other weekend for 6 years. 4 or 5 years. Anyway, so and then when I went to college and then I moved out to my area now, I go there once a month. So I know that place like the back of my hand. I know the folklore. I know the stories. I know the encounters. What people say. I know that place like the Warrens know the Conjuring House. That place very well. And so you're not allowed there anymore? Or? No. It's a county property, so whenever you go there, if someone's there to visit an old family member, because it's a cemetery, but it's shut down. But some people have descendants of family that's there, so I'm respectful about it. If I go there and there's cars there, I just drive off. Because I don't know if they're going to be there for half an hour, 2 hours, 10 minutes. I don't know. But if no one's there, I do what I call... I know it's not the proper term. It's what me and my old co-host, Lily, she called it this too. We go there and we do tree meditation. Because there's this one huge tree in the middle of the cemetery where we both saw the spirit called the Watcher. We saw him at the exact same time, one time, almost a decade ago, and ever since then, we have felt a connection to that tree as far as using like whether it's remote viewing, meditation, channeling, anything. So every time I go to Pilot's Knob, I sit down beside that tree, meditate, try to turn it into channeling, and I spend usually the first I usually do it for close to an hour. I usually spend the first half hour talking out loud. Like, is anyone there? This, that, and the other. And then, whether I get something or I don't, I then put on headphones. And this is not going to be the Delco method. This isn't going to be like the goggles or Estes. I put on headphones that's noise canceling. Not white noise, just noise canceling, because within the noise canceling headphones that I have, they all maybe be the same. You can slightly hear white noise in the background. That is the noise canceling, but it's not like that constant shh noise. Right. It's not as loud.
Not like electronic hum.
Yeah, exactly. It's nowhere near as loud as like a spirit box. So a electronic hum, but whenever I am blindfolded, it cuts off all my senses, and my ADHD is listening for anything. That small hum becomes basically white noise as far as level goes. And so I throw on the noise canceling headphones, and I don't play a thing, and I literally ask questions in my head, and literally ask anything to come through. Because I feel like I know that location well enough that I've experienced most everything there. I've only gotten scratched twice in my life. One time was there. And one time I felt a mumbling voice come through. Couldn't understand it. Didn't know what the hell it was talking about. But I'm like, this could be just me matrixing with my ears. It could be nothing. So then I kept asking questions in my head. Don't remember what I asked. But then I eventually was like, I think half an hour later, I asked to the thing I heard earlier, just in case it was actually something, to the spirit that I heard earlier, if you can come through and just make one noise, please do. And if you do, I will take off the headphones, open my eyes, and I will see you and do my best to see you. Not 10 seconds later, I hear what sounds like a grunt. I'm like, you know what? That's more than what I've heard in the past half hour. I'm going to take it. I heard this weird grunt, and I took off my headphones. I took off my my blindfold, and in the very distance, I would say probably close to 40 yards away, I saw a similar apparition that I saw with my first ever paranormal encounter. A white mist-like figure, but like a lot of details were missing. Like he had like nubs for arms, legs and feet weren't there. It was like a floating torso. And I'm like, okay. So now I know for me how a non-in-body person attachment can feel. In my opinion, I felt a spirit communicate and show itself to me in a eventful way. And ever since then, now I'm not saying that's the only way a spirit can attach or show itself to me in a manifesting way, but that's my only experience to actually having it done. And ever since then, I have only experienced that once. That was seeing Big Boy at MSP. But ever since then, if I have the time to try to
Missouri State Prison, by the way, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ever since then, I don't try it in every investigation. I've never felt a attachment or a manifestation in a location by just not trying to have it. If I don't try, then it doesn't happen. I've literally, at MSP and at Pilot's Knob, I literally had to sit there for half an hour, and whether it's obvious or just in my own body, let myself attune to the energy the best I can, and then I got lucky twice. And that's when I have to try. But my body just naturally doing it never has, but I'm not saying it never will. And that's with hours of trying.
Well, I gotta say, we got Richie in. He's got his doll. So there's a small child somewhere crying over their missing toy.
It's probably in the next room, honestly.
Probably Trevor.
I got my doll. I forget what the fuck.
Or is that from the Savers Haunted section, Richie?
We don't insult Sin. She gets a little upset if you do. Miss Cynthia will be very upset. So be kind to her.
Oh, I have nothing but the utmost.
Oh.
Your screen just went. What the fuck?
You seeing this?
Is your camera fucked up, or is that your producer?
I have no idea, dude. I've never seen that before. Hand of God.
Neither have I. This is. I gotta admit, Richie, this is kind of cool here that this is happening.
Yeah. So, anyways, real quick, Damien, hello, and Andrew, hello. I noticed you said hello. I tried to get into the chat, but for some reason my YouTube won't connect to StreamYard, and it won't let me link up to anything. So, I've never seen that turn blue like that before. So, Miss Cynthia didn't like what you had to say. So, Cynthia is a doll. I really don't know where she came from, to be honest with you. I think
no shit. Okay, cool.
Well, you don't know that. You don't. I emphasize that to let assure myself that she's a doll, because what happens is when I come in and she's like this and then she's like that. So I've had a few occurrences with her. So I'm the only one she trusts. So none of the kids will go near her. So I think it's
not for nothing. The moment we started talking about it, your screen went all wonky. So
it did. It turned blue like 3 times, right?
And it glitched, and
I
honestly thought we were dealing with some special effects. Richie just kind of being right on the other end of the camera.
Nope, nothing, dude. My hands are right here. I'm just chilling. Sometimes the lights will flicker down here a lot of times. You know what I mean?
The Richie B podcast, sponsored by Michael Bay.
Hello, first of all. Well, let's say hello to Miss Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yes, Sarah, you can say hi at any time, and you love my hat too, even though it's backwards and it doesn't have your name on it. Okay. She did say hello, ladies. That was nice. She was talking.
Hey,
so
right here.
I think it was weird. Like I'm weird. I'm an instigator right now. Okay, Trevor, let's dial it back a little bit here.
Trevor and his toys.
No, it was that Sin, is its name Cynthia?
Cynthia, yeah, Sin.
So kind of like the little straggly haired doll from Rugrats.
I guess so. I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I just know that was the name that was given to her. I think I put it out there on the podcast one night, and me and a bunch of my audience, we kind of put a name together, and we went with Sin because I like Cynthia, and then Sin for short, CYN. So yeah, so it did it. We had a little bit of effect going on as soon as we brought her in. So
yeah, it was a little bit odd.
Yeah, no, and there's a lot of odd things that happen around my house and myself, and I wanted to kind of touch on what Trevor was saying, talking about how if he doesn't put himself forward or put himself out there, he kind of doesn't get anything back. Yep. And I've heard of that plenty of times. I have never had that joy of experiencing that, actually, because there's been times where I've wanted to close myself off and not be bothered. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So most of my life I've been a sensitive, and I as a young boy, the story goes, and I shared it on Paranormally Blonde. I think it was my first ever interview. About my grandmother being in my bedroom. I didn't know it was my grandmother till the third night when my mother called my father, and I overheard her telling him that it was my grandmother that I described as a 7-8-year-old boy. So throughout my life, I've always been a beacon. So whenever we had our paranormal teams, they would always send me into certain rooms and stuff like that because I would stir things up. You know what I mean? If you want to picture the mist, you just send Richie into a room and click the picture. You know what I mean?
Proverbial canary, huh?
Yeah. It was real. It's always been very strange, and I've been heard on recordings, on the EVP recordings, yelling, "Can you see her? Can't you guys see her? She's right there. She's walking right by you. Can you see her?" And that was one of the EVPs that was a joke in the family, because there was a little girl walking through the cemetery, went right through the middle of my family, because we were all ghost hunters and or researchers, not ghost hunters. Somebody says, "You want to go Bigfoot hunting?" I'm like, hell no. Why would I want to hunt a Bigfoot and shoot him and then have it not work out for me? So researchers, but and that's what we did. And I remember seeing that young girl, and there was one, my niece was the only one that could see her, and I had her describe her to me so I could validate for her, and she did. She nailed it. So, but yeah, so I never had that issue. You know what I mean?
So I actually, Richie, I have a question for you as well. Sure. So we started this whole episode with the conversation around the Conjuring House and the Oliver House both being quote unquote evil locations, right? Yeah. People are saying there's malicious spirits there. There is just evil intent oozing out of this location.
I think it's bullshit. I think whatever energy you come in with is what it's going to be amplified, and that's what's going to be your experience. Have you ever been in a circumstance where you felt like there was something malicious there, something evil that was just inherently on its own, absent of outside influence, just evil?
So I've never been to the Conjuring house. The Oliver house is a half a mile from my house right now where I'm sitting.
Yep.
Right by Oliver Mill. So I live up on 2 streets behind Oliver Mill. So I've never heard anything being malicious at Oliver House, and I've had a lot of conversations about the paranormal in Oliver House. You know, obviously being part of my whole history because I grew up in Middleborough. I have been in situations. Yes, I actually was in a cemetery, which is odd because all the cemeteries I've been in, and it was always kind of to hone our skills and stuff like that. It wasn't anything we took like, to the bank, but we did. We got a lot of EVPs. I've had a lot of experiences in the cemeteries. And this one particular cemetery, I remember because I always do a protection circle on the way in, and then I do a protection circle on the way out, kind of cutting anything off, making them stay behind. The Michael, the Archangel prayer to protect us, things like that. And the incident that I remember the most was I was in the circle, and we were just about to get going with the Michael, the Archangel prayer, and my niece's husband, now husband, said, real funny, Uncle Rich. And I said, what are you talking about? He says, oh, you grabbed my ass. And I'm like, and I'm the guy, I am the weirdo that does, shit like that. I don't particularly go around grabbing ass. I might tap it, you know what I mean? And not in that way, Trevor.
Just a little good game. No big deal.
Yeah, a little good game, right? No cupping, you know what I mean? And I said, I'm about to do a protections circle. I'm not going to do that when we're talking about, St. Michael the Archangel and all that. That's ridiculous. So I didn't know what he was getting at. And then he didn't believe me. He was like, yeah, right. And then we just kind of went on. We did our thing. And prior to that, I had gotten I did a live playback of an EVP recording. And of course, I got the classic, and I still actually have it here in my I'm building a new studio. So my outside studio's over there. But where my EVP recorder is without the batteries in it, because I feel that protects me. Anyways, so on that EVP recorder, it goes, get out. And it was really fast, really abrupt, really scratchy. Didn't sound like, Bob or Bill, get out or get out. It wasn't like that. It was like, get out. And it was like really, really, it was scary. And we had played it back live. And that's what kind of brought us into the circle to get out of the cemetery. Because, he says, get out, I'm going to get out, right? So, yeah. Sorry. Trevor, you had your moment. Shut it. So, I
have a genuine question. I'm good.
Yeah, no, you can ask. And 1 second.
Yeah.
So we get back to the house after, and we're going back through all our evidence. It's like 2 a.m, so we're gonna do 3:30, 4 o'clock doing evidence. And my niece comes out and says, Uncle Rich, I'm nervous. I said, what's going on? She says, Kyle's in the bathroom and his back's burning. I said, what do you mean burning? And she goes, I don't know. I think there's something wrong. And I said, what? So I go to the door. So what's going on, dude? And he goes, I have a scratch from the top of my, butt, right below lower back, all the way down across his butt cheek, and up down to his top of his hamstring, basically area, right, quads and all that. So I said, let us see it. He's like, well, it's on my butt cheek, dude. So I said, well, just show us half of it. And sure enough, man, he had a scratch right down the back. And it was one. It wasn't like the sign of the Trinity, or I'm not going to, go there in that sense. And then again, I didn't wait around 3 days to see if it developed, but it was a long, hard scratch. So for me, I knew at that moment, typically it's something that's not, I didn't feel it was earthbound. I felt there was something dark in that cemetery, kind of keeping everybody there, not letting them leave, stuff like that. That old type of stuff that you hear. And, and I have an intuition. So I kind of, once I locked into that feeling and that vibe, I felt that was the correct answer for that situation. But that's the main one that sticks out. I've been in other places where there's poltergeist, and it didn't feel evil even with poltergeist. You know what I mean? I knew there were kids playing and running around. I heard them all laughing all around me, lights flickering, doors shutting, drawers opening and closing. Like I sat there and watched the whole thing, and just absolutely shit my pants. But I didn't feel endangered. I had to fight or flight, but that's because things that were happening around me was scary. I mean, for any human, right? But I also knew that there were kids that live in there, and they like to laugh and giggle a lot, and they weren't alive. So, you know what I mean? Trevor, did you have a question?
Yes.
For me or Sin?
Both.
Okay, good. You got this.
But I'm more for you unless she can talk. If she can talk, then hey, what the fuck?
What the fuck?
And we just said her name. Well, not we. You
No,
did.
you said if she can talk.
Oh shit!
All right, can you stop that, please?
Oh, he's like out now. He's gone.
I'm frozen.
This is unique. What was your question, Trevor? Might as well ask.
I can hear you. Anybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine, but we can't. You're a freeze frame right now.
Staring at Cynthia, all blue. Wait recording of this.
Yeah,
Nuts.
but earlier, Richie was talking about protection spells and saying a prayer. Nothing wrong with that at all. Obviously, no hate against any religion or anything. But speaking about the core of why anyone does that for any religious reason, because I've had to do it with a couple of friends from multiple locations.
Hold on. Trevor, did you drop off stage, or did he drop off stage?
I can't see what you click. I'm not. Okay, then he left on his own. Whether it was his Wi-Fi that kicked him off or he manually did it.
Rich, are you there, man?
Turn on your camera.
Yeah, I'm here. Can anybody hear me?
We
just can't see you, dude.
Dude,
Yeah.
this is absolute insanity. I don't understand what's going
All
on.
right, keep going, Trevor.
Okay, so yeah, and we don't even see your avatar. It's a gray rectangle. But anyway, so yeah, so like no matter what religion you are, Catholic, Baptist, anything, right? I personally am agnostic. I believe there's a higher power out there. I believe it's more energy than anything, but that's not the point. So whenever I am doing a prayer with somebody else, not necessarily the fact of whenever I'm taking part in a prayer with somebody else, I bow my head and listen in respect for the people around me, but I don't absorb that energy like they do, or however they feel it. But saying that, say you're doing a prayer in a circle, me, 3 other people, however many, and say, hypothetically, say in order for this protection spell to work, the spiritual energy, let's just say that, in the group has to flow right for the protection to work, for it to manifest. Say, not that it would not, because even though I don't believe in whatever you're trying to put out there, say that would the protection spell work? Not because I don't believe it, because I subconsciously won't let it work because my energy flow is not the same as yours in the spiritual sense.
Right.
So what are your thoughts of saying a protection spell, but it may or may not work because of not believing, but your energy will never be on the same level, not in an egotistical way, but will never be on the same level as most people's out there.
I think that's kind of, for me, that's an incredible bullshit statement.
Okay.
The power of one's faith, spirit, soul, whatever, doesn't waver or flag based on which book you put your hand on or what belief system you utilize. Even if we look at the Judeo-Christian faiths, the inherent power to a soul is not tied to the belief of a deity or the adherence to religious doctrine or religious beliefs. So for me, if you are using your energy and using your spiritual force, right, it is just as impactful and just as strong as if it was somebody of faith using a prayer. Yeah, so Richie just sent me a screenshot
Yeah, Richie, that is what I see on my screen too, down in the bottom. But up in
never
there, you
seen
have
this.
this black screen, man.
I've never seen. I've never had. This is like kind of really, really weird, especially with all the color change. I don't understand the colors, and I think Damien explained it best. I look like one of those toilet dye things that I actually just put in my toilet. Thank you, Damien.
Papa Smurf over here.
Can you hear me okay still?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
That's freaking bizarre. So as far as like putting my head into like, whether I can or can't make this, the prayer work is kind of what Trevor's saying.
So okay, so let me just narrow it down because because I want the full context. So no matter if you're any religion out there, whether it's a branch of something or overall just Christian, right? Say, and let me put this in the best way that I can for everyone out there that don't have ADHD. Say, say on a scale of 1 to 10, right? 1 being a low frequency and the 10 being the highest. Doesn't matter, but let's just say that. Say all Christian or all religion, all prayer of any kind, any type of recited chant or phrase that is meant to put a layer of protection around you, right, is all on the frequency of 5, dead center, all on the frequency of 5. And say someone who has a severe ADHD, like me or Ian or anyone else out there, is in that circle, and their frequency, no matter what their religious beliefs are or spiritual beliefs are, their frequency of their energy because of their ADHD is constantly going from 2, 5, 8, 7, 3, 5, 6, 5, 8, constantly. That whenever we take part in a prayer, our constant changing of energy with their constant level of their belief, would that interfere, and we would subconsciously fuck up that energy because of our ADHD?
Welcome back. Welcome back,
and now you're in a forest.
I changed the background. That has nothing to do with anything. I'm tired of this.
But yeah,
all of a sudden the green screen fixed everything. I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. Holy shit. Go ahead, finish.
But does the frequency of ADHD affect the frequency of which the spiritual manifestation of a prayer would work in a given setting like that? That may be an easy no.
Of the individual. I mean, is it based on individuality? Like 5 people in a circle, and someone's frequency is different than the other one. You think is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah. Like and that may be like an easy no. Like no, obviously it don't. But I don't know. Because I've only ever done a prayer twice, and that was with 2 teams, and I respected their wishes. I didn't say a damn thing about it. And and after that, after each prayer that I done, and both prayers were different religions as a whole. And after I got in my car and was following them, in my head, I'm like, what I believe aside, does my frequency of my body affect their frequency of what they put out in the moment to bless themselves? Did I cancel that out? Did I block the circle in some weird way with my frequency of my ADHD? Does that even matter? I don't know.
If I may, Ian.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't think, for me, whenever I use, and I think was it Wayne said it? Power of faith. You know what I mean? In that sense, it kind of covers everybody. You know what I mean? So I don't think that you are unprotected because of your beliefs. I don't think you're unprotected because of your frequency level either. I've never been in a situation where, for me, the only time I've had anything follow me home is when the collective circle, the prayer circle wasn't done. And that's the truth for me. Just because I'm a sensitive in a sense and you're not, I don't think prayer gets ramped up for me because my frequency is different than yours, you know what I mean, or higher than yours, you know what I mean. And typically I say that because that's kind of how they gauge sensitivities, but at least in a layman's term. But I don't think that is affected. I don't think it's affected either way in that sense. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
But there's places you can go to and you do the prayer circle and there's an entity that's just too strong and doesn't give zero fucks and you're all in trouble. So I have seen that before.
Because the only reason I ask is because I had one encounter. My cords wrapped around to the way. Okay, there we go. I had one encounter years ago that if it wasn't for that encounter, I don't think I would have this afterthought after doing the prayers. But years ago, no prayer was done at all, and I was at I've only been there twice, but it was a hometown thing. It was Baker's Hollow Road. A lot. I never really heard anything. A lot of folklore, but every time that I went there, EMF was off the roof. So I think something residual or natural. I don't know. I've only been there twice. Only reason I've only been there twice is because some real estate agent bought a plot of land. It's near a town, and he decided to build a trailer park on it. So every time you go to the graveyard now, you have some bad actors just like watching you from 50 yards away, and it's very uncomfortable. But that's not the point. So at the first time that I went there, didn't really feel anything at all. The second time that I went there, I felt as if I was being watched. Mm-hmm. And at that point in life, really didn't have any type of spiritual or protection, anything. I was just there. I was almost like a Zach Bagans. It's like, fuck me up if you want to do it. I was almost like that.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, no. I was 16. It was a decade ago.
Yeah, so was he.
and so I at one point I felt something like watching over my shoulder, and I legitimately felt uncomfortable because EMF was going off, and I was afraid to look behind me. I just had that weird feeling, and I quickly was like curious because I knew how to manage my ADHD and hyperfixate on anything. So what I did was, instead of like having to focus like there's something behind me I can't look, instead of focusing on that, I know it's really weird, but I literally took my phone. At the time, it was a Motorola flip phone back in the day. I literally took my phone. I'm like, this thing isn't going to fucking break. I literally took it and I throw it on the ground about 10 feet in front of me. And then about 5 seconds later, my brain's like, I need to pick that up. And then I went and picked it up, and then I put it in my pocket, and I forgot all about the spirit. 10 seconds later, the EMF went on again, and I was hyper fixated back on it. And so then I talked to my cousin, my old co-host, and I said, do you think that because she doesn't have ADHD at all, do you think with the person that has ADHD, if you quickly change your frequency and focus on something else, it could disrupt the protection that you subconsciously or manually give yourself in that moment? And her not really knowing the answer, she goes, if it feels like it does, then it probably does. And ever since then, if I put even if I don't believe in a prayer that I'm being given, even if I'm respectful and I put myself into that trance of blah 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 blah, right? Once I come out of that, I go from being respectful and trying to bring that energy in with me and be respectful to the group, to the second that it's over, back to what I know.
All right, and I got to ask you guys a couple questions here, because you guys have brought this to a topic, like a space where I want to do a 2-hour conversation just on this particular space.
All right.
So if we were to say, right, like a fair estimation in our collective perspectives, right, that most paranormal entities, when we're in houses or graveyards or things like that, are some form of spirit. Would you guys both agree with that?
In a very vague sense from what we know.
Yeah. Like a super loose, we're going to use the term spirit or entity based on some kind of consciousness that at one point very likely was human.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you guys keep talking about protections, prayers, guarding yourself and things like that, right?
Yeah.
I'm not that guy.
Same
Right,
here.
just-
Yeah.
I mean, you guys know I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
Do you take the same precautions when you leave your house and interact with these spirits that have bodies still?
Like regular humans?
Like
Regular-
regular people?
We should. I mean, have you seen society lately? It's a
I know.
shithole.
That's kind of my point, Richie.
But a lot of people do. A lot of people do say a morning
I'm
prayer.
I'm almost more guarded. I'm
Right,
more
well,
guarded.
but a lot
Well,
of
but you're
people
more
do.
guarded. But do you attempt to use or
Oh,
do you
prayer-
attempt to assert
oh.
your faith?
No,
or-
so
or
so
your-
so listen. So and again, Wade Kirby says it comes from your intention. So if I get up in the morning and say I skip my prayer and I go outside and I'm like, what the fuck you looking at? Guess what my intention is? Guess what
Yeah.
I'm going to get back? I'm going to get that intention back, right?
Yeah.
I had a guy today. We're in the Verizon store,
Yeah.
and my family's in there getting 4 phones. And dude walks in and just cuts right in front of us, talking to the one guy who's working on all my shit. And I let him get whatever, no big deal, right? I'm like, whatever, we'll be quiet. I got my little children here. But then he's like, his jeans are touching my wife, And I'm like, yeah. He's like, and so finally I walked over. I say, hey, could you back out of my wife's area, bro? And he looks at me like, what? And I'm like, well, it's either, basically either that or I'll eat your fucking liver. You know what I mean? So that's just the way it goes. But that's society. That's what it is.
So Richie, and it's not to diminish anybody that uses prayer as protection, and it's not to criticize that at all. I mean, granted, it was a bit of a flippant question, but
yeah,
like my thing is when I go out and I'm looking for evidence or I'm looking to interact or things like that,
right.
I don't see a spirit as anything more threatening than if I were to go talk to somebody down the street. Like if I were to bump into somebody at the grocery store. What's that?
Right. But there's good people and bad people, not to cut you off. And there's good spirits and bad spirits. And there's people that are of this earth that are dead that walk around just wanting to cause a menace. That's a thing too. It's not just every time we have a bad experience in the paranormal world during an investigation that, oh my God, it's got to be a demon. That's not the case. Sometimes there was just bad actors that lived here and that still walk around. I've heard many, many, many stories about it's weird, particularly with the Old West. You had that old guy that just walked into a saloon and just started popping the people in the head, and he got hung for doing it. And he comes back and he's the same guy. It's just the way it is. You know what I mean? So I think to do a prayer, in the morning, a lot of people do prayer. That protection, and you're not that guy. I get it, but there's times where I do it where I feel spiritual, or I like to meditate. Meditation's cool. I can deal with them easier. I could take them longer. You know what I mean? Maybe today I wouldn't have been so short fused with that. He was next to my wife, though. I'm not having that, but that's different. But you know what I mean? So it was just, I can normally tolerate it more. So sometimes that prayer of protection will help you even in society. And again, I'm not a religious guy. I'm a spiritual guy. I was homeless at 14 and I found another way of life and it saved me. And I don't go to church or nothing, but I'm a spiritual guy and it saved my life. So to inject that into my everyday life makes people more tolerable even. So I believe it can be helpful in any way. And to touch on what Trevor said earlier, when he talked about refocusing with his ADD and all that stuff, ADHD for him, I have ADD, and it's the same exact way.
Rookie.
Yeah, right. Well, it's funny. I grew out of
you're the amateur in this group here.
No.
No, it's just because it's just because he's from the wrong part of Boston.
Yeah, you better simmer down. Where you from now? I got a ticket. No, just kidding. But it seemingly I grew out of that hyperactive part of it. It's weird, you know what I mean? And I was actually one of the first kids ever on Ritalin, by the way. So they didn't know that it worked the opposite till 10 years after I took the first dose, basically. You know what I mean? So definitely not a rookie. But what Trevor was saying about anytime, and again, it goes back to that intention. So if your intention is to sit there and just kind of, have yourself closed off and not think of anything and nothing happens to you, then there's your intention. But all of a sudden you refocus and your energy changes, or your body goes up, say in temperature or whatever. Well, now you've just put yourself out there. And again, that's the same for the living and the dead, right? So that guy had his intention today and he put it in the wrong place, right? And he got some kickback. Now, if he had walked in there, waited his turn like he should have, shut his goddamn mouth and didn't step next to my wife, then he wouldn't have got what he got. That was his intention. which is
And
what Wade
Richie
Kirby
wouldn't
was
have a
saying.
restraining order now.
Yeah, that's it got weird quick. That's all.
Got an
No, it still
RX
gets a
10
little
for
weird.
personal safety.
Yeah.
But no, I think for me, and again, like this is so hyper specific to like my perspective, and I don't think that anybody else needs to feel the same way I do about it. Right. Yeah, I'm big into meditation as well. And
Okay.
you both touched on some things, and I think it was Bob. Yeah, Bob came in and chimed in something similar.
Yeah.
Whatever you are in life, chances are you're the same person in death.
That's what they say. That's what they generally run into. Yeah.
Well, here's my question, right? If you're stepping away from all the physicality of the world, right? Like if you're moving on to a new level of existence and a new frequency of existence, how is it even remotely possible that you would remain the same on the other side? That's the big question. Like the bitterness, the anger, the frustration, the very human existence that makes us abrasive, the very like, I mean, I know countless guys that are just, their bodies are wreaking havoc on their mentality because their body's just so banged up and they're in so much pain all the time that they're just miserable pricks all the time.
Right.
And it's got to do with the fact that their hands haven't bent right in 25 years and their knees have been giving them shit for the past 15, and they're just miserable. And so to me, when we move on and we step away from that physical aspect of life, how do we not also step away from that bitterness and that anger and that frustration, like that creates the negative? Now, some people are just straight up shit people, right? Like they're just shitty human beings. They're angry because that's just the way they're wired. But again, that's biochemical, right? That is very, very physical.
Right.
And so unless we're going to say that someone's anger or someone's bitterness or someone's frustration or like just their badness, right, is more fundamental than the brain chemistry, the biochemistry that's actually going on in their head, then the moment the head's gone, so too are those neural pathways and those chemical imbalances that make somebody miserable and hateful.
See, I recently thought about this. So I'm gonna reference a song here in a bit. I'm not gonna sing the song. You don't want to hear me sing, but but no, I was actually having an in-depth conversation with a friend about this.
Yeah, Bob. 100%.
Bob.
Sorry.
Yeah, and
Denise, that's also true.
And whatever energy we put out into the world, like obviously with our. Assume that some little scratches, perhaps they can be manifested. Yeah.
No, I was talking about her wreaking havoc on all her enemies after she's gone. That zero doubt in that. Go ahead. Sorry, Trevor.
Hey, not real quick though on this one that he was just reading.
Yeah.
I've never once called my wife evil.
Good boy.
Good boy.
All right. Just remember, not all things that scratch are bad. All right.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
I knew where he was going. I was trying to be. I'm like, keep it.
You're into some freaky shit, Ian. All right.
Please. That's Boy Scout camp,
That's
son.
nothing, dude.
What? We need to start streaming on some OnlyFans to make this a better.
Poor guy.
Dude, if that's freaky for you, man, I am.
Whoa.
I am sorry.
It's
I was turning red like a jerk.
Yeah, right.
Oh, hey, talk later, bro. I'm kidding. But yeah, me and a friend were talking about this because a friend was wanting to get into like stones and energy and stuff and rocks and crystals and stuff, and she asked
Pocket
like,
rocks. Yeah,
huh? Yeah.
Pocket rocks.
And she asked like how they work, and I wasn't sure, but I'm like, I'm sure it has something to do with like aura and like controlling the vibration and the energy of your aura on the seven spectrums of your aura, I think 7, 5, something like that. And she asked like, once we die, say we're doing this the pocket rocks, crystals, and have that type of spirituality. Once you die, will your aura be so charged, if you choose to, that whenever you die, it carries on, and you just walk into or or transfer into a different level of existence with a similar aura that walks on a different path. And there's a song that I like. It's float like a feather through space and time outside of a dream. Dance with the divinity in a dance you've shared before, all thanks to dissolution. And basically, what that means is you're on the same, you're within the same distance of yourself, but on a different plane. You're experiencing the same thing that you once did, but on a different plane from a different light. So that me and her got into a really deep conversation about that. But once it's almost like a similar take on whenever you die and you see the light, are you coming out again as someone new? But instead of it being someone new, it's just your energy carrying on and viewing a similar path that you walked once before, just from a different angle of life.
There's two different things to bring up on that. Like the first one being, the idea that a one-dimensional creature couldn't even perceive the thoughts of a two-dimensional couldn't perceive the thoughts of a three-dimensional, three-dimensional couldn't perceive the thoughts of a fourth-dimensional, so on up through the 8 dimensions that we're able to actually verify. We aren't even able to contextualize a thought a 4-dimensional creature would have, or a sensory perception that a 4-dimensional creature would have. And so, interesting take, right? Like you die, you move on to a 4th dimension. Now you're able to be retrospective as you're moving through the different dimensions, and potentially through all of them, and go through the different evolutions of the spirit, evolutions of the spirit through dimensional perspective. That's actually an existing theory. There are ad nauseum books and research papers about that. The second thing that like the idea that you had talked about, like the idea of the energy endures, right? That to me sounds a bit like a Horcrux, right? Like you pour yourself into a pocket rock, and so you're able to keep the same kind of aura.
And what Wade said, I didn't know about that. The acoustic record. I didn't know that. I did no idea about that. It's called the acoustic record and frequency. Yep. It cannot be changed. It's your soul signature. I didn't know about that. Okay.
Yeah, and that goes into like the universal reverberations and things like that, like the idea of wavelength existences and whatnot. Rich, you look like you're chewing on something.
Yeah, no, I'm just kind of taking this all in, and I was looking at Kent's message. He had kind of a long message, but God bless you, bro, man. I hope you feel a little at ease each day. But I don't believe just because you're in pain, Kent, that you'll and to what we're saying, that you'll still be in pain or you'll be an angry spirit. I don't think that's what we were kind of pointing towards.
No.
I think sometimes
there's relief on the other side there.
Well, I think that's one thing. If you and again, I'm not a religious person, but if you get into like, that's why they talk about certain things. Like, for instance, for me, coming to terms with my past, you know what I mean? I've been clean and sober since September 21st, 1997. I wasn't always a nice dude. And, thank you. But I was just bringing that up because before that, like I said, I wasn't a nice dude. And it doesn't mean because I wasn't a nice dude at one point, I'm going to walk around not being a nice dude in the next life. For me, I believe too, that you come to terms with who you are as a person. Hopefully you have that time to do that before you do go, and change that frequency, so to speak, or that aura, or all those types of things that we're talking about, frequencies and stuff, and become somebody different before you go. I think a lot of times people get stuck here because of the abruptness of their death or their cause of death or whatever the case might be. They're caught purgatory, whatever the case might be, where they're pacing back and forth. And that's where irritations come from. For me, you could be, a good person, and all of a sudden something tragic happens to you and you're lost and you're stuck between here and there. And eventually your patience wear out and you're running around back and forth. And then a lot of times, the discussions I've had with people with psychics and mediums, a lot of times that can happen to where you get that irritable type, attitude and personality in the afterlife, you know, where you start playing games and messing with people, or because you're pissed off, you're scratching somebody, or you're throwing something across a room, or whatever the case might be. So that could have a lot to do with that in a sense. I truly do believe if you're complete with yourself and understand, you know, for me, I'm not going to say sins because, again, I'm not religious and I don't feel that I've sinned. I lived a life that I was kind of thrown into, and I had to do what I had to do to survive. So for me, it's a little bit different, but I also believe that going back to your prime or whatever, feeling good about your body feels good. All your pain goes away. You don't have a sense of hunger. You don't have a sense of, you know, decrepity or whatever the case might be. That you get to live that life, you know, in a prosperous type way and being comfortable and you know, stuff like that. So I don't believe just because you're injured now or whatever the case might be that you're still going to have to suffer what you're suffering today. You know what I mean? And there's many factors that go into that. You know what I mean? So that's one thing I was kind of picking up on, and it kind of went with what, you know, what Trevor was saying too, as well, and yourself. And energy is a key to a lot of things. Yes. Frequencies are a key to a lot of things. Yes. But sometimes being who we are on this earth does determine part of those factors. So there's not a lot of way around that except for you fixing it. You know what I mean? So
my brain just thought of a really good way to put into context in the picture on how we originally started here about how as far as attachments and opening doors with ADHD can be, and at least in my head, and you may say yes to this. I'm not sure, but imagine you have a door in front of you with an old-fashioned key, one of those. No. Let's say a normal door with a normal key, the one with all those notches, 5 or 6 of the notches, right? Door opens anything to anywhere spiritually. Be at the Conjuring House, that door opens up the door to anything spiritual wherever you're at. But that key, if you have ADHD, as soon as you stick it in that lock, say the order in which the key nodes work in that door is as straightforward as it could fucking be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But your key shapeshifts. Every time you put the key in, it's 1, 5, 4, 3. Then you take it out to refresh it, and you put it in again. It's 1, 8, 6, 5. It's very hard to match that frequency unless you could hypothetically sit there and take time and figure it out. And then eventually, once you physically have to manually train your brain to get in that right frequency, then the key finally gets locked in place. Then you have to hold steady in a weird sense. Hold your frequency steady, then unlock that door. And once you're in, you better stay in, because if you get distracted, you're fucked.
So I actually have I have a little bit of a different experience with it with ADHD. Okay. Then, so for me, when I go into a place, I'm actually not dissimilar to like.
It's happening again.
It's happening again, Richie.
I'm sorry. Hey, Cynthia, can you talk?
Good, mate.
Yeah, Cynthia, do you have something to say? You got something to express?
If you have something to say, can he change his camera to blue again? Can he do what you just did?
Oh, come on, man! Don't do that.
It's for science. It's for science.
It's for science.
Oh.
Bro.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Cynthia, can you stop that, please, and don't listen to them?
It's going hard.
Cynthia, don't listen to them.
Oh my God.
This is
Please, for me, stop.
Is Cynthia known to be haunted?
I've just recently discovered things about her, but thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Don't play along. Don't play along.
We got that interruption done. Cynthia's been a little feisty, a little rude, maybe. But for me, I actually operate a lot more like a spirit box or like an Estes rig, where my channels are flipping so fast
My anxiety's going through the roof. Sorry.
That's okay, Rich. It's all right.
My stomach's racing. We all know that feeling, don't we?
Yeah. Cynthia's gonna need you to go grab a bottle of Pepto and maybe a couple of Zoloft.
Behave yourself, young lady.
But no, I usually run frequencies so fast when I'm sitting there and I'm meditating in a location. I feel like I'm able to like rapid fire through the energies in the room and kind of ping things. And so similar to how you have like those signal scanners, white noise machines, sound boxes where it's just and then every now and again you have something really fire through. I feel like that's kind of more my experience with it.
Okay. If it maybe this and this will be a quicker like explanation, because what I just described with the key in the door, that's when I'm trying to just like tap into just like putting my energy out there, or like getting myself in the comfortable position to actually channel. But
now, are you just open to channeling whatever's there, or are you fixating on one potential entity or one potential energy that's there?
The fixating on one potential thing is what I'm about to say. The first thing that I mentioned was just whenever I was just trying to let anything through. So whenever I'm in a location,
fucking wait.
All of a sudden, I thought you were telling the poodles. I thought you were laughing at me. I'm like, that wasn't even that funny.
Yeah.
I was literally fine. All this time I thought he was holding. Yeah, Poodle's been fucking up his fucking stream service.
Oh, hey girl, you like my poodle?
But anyways, yeah. So yeah, whenever I'm in a location, right, multiple times I am sensitive enough to point out what rooms are more charged than others, or portals even. Like I went to Billy Creek once and I was going through all of the buildings, got to the Civil War house in the very back of the field. As soon as I walked in, I'm like, oh, it just felt heavy. I'm like, something happened in this back corner. Hours later, 1 a.m., we put a tripwire in the back of that corner and it would not stop. Shadows everywhere. And I wasn't like I knew what I was right, blah, blah, blah. But like in my head, I'm like, I knew there was something there. I knew it. And I feel like, and even with the big boy at MSP, I just knew that wasn't supposed to be there. And so whenever I'm actually looking for a specific spirit, or I'm trying to tap into one energy, I get into that meditative state. I close my eyes. I calm myself down in the head and focus and try to get myself at like a ground level to where I'm not bouncing around, right? And then once I'm at that level, then I usually do this in a room where I feel like, okay, something's here. Something might be here. It's heavy. It's different. Sit myself somewhere in that room to where I just feel like it like is right. Ground myself. And then I look around at just wherever my head wants me to look. And then once I fix it, once my brain fixates on something, then I use my peripheral vision to scan the whole room that I can see. And at that same time, I'm asking questions. I'm doing whatever I can. I'm letting my energy flow in my own way. And then sometimes I'll hear something. Sometimes something, oddly enough, it's usually only in the peripheral vision that something will move. A knock will happen. And then once I change my point of view, my direction to what was in my peripheral, what used to be my focal point is now my peripheral, and something will happen there. So it's like something's constantly just trying to force me to follow a path, and that's the best way that I can explain it. But I kind of use focal points to find other focal points, and I'm just bouncing around from one thing to another if anything even happens. But
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Trevor, I think you don't give yourself enough credit. Oh, hi, Kaylee. How are you?
Yeah, me. Okay, what happened to Kaylee was the creepiest experience I've ever seen with Mirror Scrying and Estes ever.
That's awesome. How'd you like that, Kaylee? Was it good?
Kaylee, if you don't mind me talking about it, then I will. If not, it's all good. But that was crazy.
Yeah, I think you can leave yourself a little bit more open than you think, Trevor. And I think we do have those capabilities in that sense. You know, I mean, we all kind of are sensitive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
and I saw that you got permission. Good Lord,
Yeah.
come up for air for Christ's sakes. You know what I mean? Since for a guy that doesn't get scratched a lot, you don't really come up for air either. But if I think again, it goes back to the intention, right? That
Mhm.
Wade's talking about, and that other people have brought up. So I think that intention is there, and I think you know exactly what you're doing in that sense. So if you're putting yourself out there like that, you certainly can draw some attention. And there's other times where there's certain people at different locations that they just they become a target. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it could be just like anything else. You walk into a place and there's 7 spirits in there, and one of them goes over and says, let's bully this one. Well, guess what? The other 6 could jump in. I've seen that before too, where every corner they turn, but you're putting out a certain intention, so you're getting a certain result, as opposed to somebody else not going in there with any intention that's on your team. Now, go ahead. I know you're chomping at the fucking bit to talk about Kaylee's story. Just go and say it.
Hold on, guys. Before we jump into Kaylee's story, I do want to say we're already a half an hour over. I do want to keep it at like an hour 45 at most. So we got like 15 minutes left. I know a few of the shows on Get Haunted already canceled for the evening, so we have the latitude to kind of run this out.
Yeah, that's fine. Same thing.
But I want to make sure that we do have a stop at 7:45, though. Okay, guys.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, she's talking to you, Trevor.
I'll make this as quick as I can. So, me and Bill and Big Daddy Andy were watching from from third party while we were in a mirror scrying room. There was a bench, mirror on one side, mirror on the other. Lori and Kaylee were back to back. Lori was in the Gansfield method with the goggles. Kaylee was in Estes. They were looking at the mirrors. They were both in a blindfold. We were asking questions. Nothing really paired up till the very end. So at the very end, we were asking both general questions and more complex. At one point, I asked, the mirrors can be a pathway for spirits to go from plane to plane. If I step in front of this mirror, in front of Kaylee, how would you feel? And within 2-3 seconds, she says, you would end up on the ground. And I go, okay. And I didn't know this is what was happening in the mirror at that time. So that's all we really got. About 10 minutes later, Bill only likes to keep people in the Gansfield method for 15 minutes because it's a giant LED light in your face. So when the time was up, got her out. She said, I need a break. Let's go to get some water. So I tapped on Kaylee's shoulder, got her out. And then Kaylee just felt the need to take a picture of the mirror. And this is what we got. Go and show that on screen if you can.
A picture of you?
Yeah.
There's a picture of you. It looks amazing.
So this. The picture that you see, this old lady, is just a framed portrait of a picture that Joe found in a hallway down the hall on a shelf. And Joe sent it to Kaylee, not thinking anything of it. He thought it was just a cool, creepy picture of some old lady, right? But then I looked at her eyes, and her eyes are blacked out. There's almost like this brown grunge mist coming out. Her hairline is different than what it normally is, and her mouth is drooped. And I'm like, that looks weird, but I'm like, that just looks weird. And then 10 minutes later, Kaylee sent me a picture of this, and I matched it up the best that I could. And
there you go.
Yeah.
There it is. Wow.
So
that's pretty. That's pretty cool. So this picture is located where?
Fairfield County Infirmary.
No, inside the building.
It's in the basement in what they call the mirror room. It's a giant storage room, but in the in the middle, because there are chairs, tables against the wall, but in the middle of, in the middle of like of a room, one mirror is leaned against the wall. One
and
mirror
this
is leaning
but my point is, this picture is located in the same room as you guys.
Yes. Yeah, she literally
Okay, so
she took a picture. Oh, like the picture of the old lady?
Correct.
No, the framing the portrait of the old lady was like down the hall, like upstairs.
all right, and you put these two together to match up the faces.
Yeah. So Joe sent Kaylee the picture and goes, "Hey, creepy portrait of a lady on the shelf. This is just a cool aesthetic." Sends her the picture, and then Kaylee's like, "Wait a second, my face looked oddly familiar." Then she sends me that, and I put it like side by side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of, remember Rob had that happen to him? And as part of his story, I think it was I forget where it was. Was it Conjuring House or something? It was the guy's name. I can't remember.
Yeah.
One of the episodes, I thought I was on that. He was on when I was interviewing him and
Yeah,
Sarah.
there was,
and
he had a pretty significant episode at the Conjuring House.
Yeah. So there was a picture of one of the original people that I can't. Oh my God, I don't remember the whole episode. Anyways, he looked like the old guy from years ago, and Sarah looks like the old lady from years ago. And it's really kooky, and it's just like this right here. So what I would do, you need to go get some history on this lady.
Yeah, I
immediately.
Yeah, because as you can see, I kind of copied and pasted the face.
That's nuts.
I put this picture over her face and turned the opacity down. Her hairline changed to match her. Her eyes are the same feet, same. And then her mouth.
Yeah, I see it too. Yeah. That's crazy, dude.
And this picture, like over here, is just that one without her face on it. But yeah,
that's nuts.
That is cool, man.
But yeah, okay, I will.
Wow, that was
all right.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I've seen that before, man. I've seen that before, and it gets your attention, and they're getting your attention.
Yeah,
right,
and
Sin. No more color changes, okay, young lady.
Well, one last for the goodbye.
Sin,
signing off. Just one last run.
What about the other picture with the? Oh, I'm not sure if I have it on my computer, but I can check.
Yeah, Big Daddy Andy's gonna keep you in check. I felt so off afterwards. I bet you did. That's a lot of energy, man.
Okay, yes, here.
Let's see. Not seeing that while I saw much worse.
Took a picture of this. I turned up the contrast a lot just so you can make the face more noticeable.
Right.
But this was within 5 minutes of them both being under, and I was literally taking pictures just for cool pictures. I was taking a picture of Lori, then Kaylee with the red light. I was flashing like a red flashlight on to make it look all cool. And then I'm like, let me get a picture with the red light on the mirror and then one without the red light. This is the one without the red light. Share screen, window, this.
Glad it's not a black light. Just saying.
This was what popped up.
Jeepers.
And this is the same face. Eyes are bulgy because it's an anomaly, but look at the hairline.
Now, am I looking at it here, Trevor? What am I looking at? Is that an arm and a
no, here.
What's the face down below? The little face.
Oh, this?
Like a little bit, a little bit to the over a little bit. It looks like a little angry face sticking out.
I'm seeing this.
Do you see it, Ian? I see it. No, I'm seeing that. I see that. And you're talking about shit. The hell? The fuck?
You just get bit, Richie? What's going on?
I got zapped or something. What is going on?
Yeah.
No. I want to see that again.
Yeah, bring that back up. I'm sorry. Oh,
just give me 1 second. It won't take me long.
Because I'm going to be honest. I want to know what I'm looking at because I don't really. I don't know what I'm looking at.
I don't either.
All right, so what we initially thought was.
There we go.
I zoomed in.
All right, so what are you comparing the old lady's face to in this picture? What are you comparing it to?
This right here.
All right,
It's like a side profile of a skull to me. That
right.
So this is more of a stretch because it's not a perfect face, but to me, eye, and then a blurred out mouth. There's really no mouth here, but like there's enough space for there to be a mouth. But then right here, if you trace it finely, it looks like the same hairline as her. When this this is within 10 minutes of her taking the picture that I just showed you before.
And what is this a photo of? So if you zoom out, right?
Is that
her to the right? Sitting
yes.
in the chair?
This is Kaylee. I turned up the brightness. I turned up the brightness and contrast.
Now, what is there? So, like, if we look to the left of Kaylee, what is? If I was in the room, what would I see there?
That would be a blocked in the mirror. It would be a planked up 2x4 wooden mirror.
A mirror. So
no, not a mirror. Sorry, a window. Because we were in a basement, and that those little in the basement, there's that little rectangular.
Okay,
yeah, that
I see
that from the outside. They have that little basement.
Yeah.
And that thing is shattered, so they put a wooden plank over it to.
Okay, so this space where you're having that contrast come through next to the face you superimposed.
What the?
Yeah.
That's a piece of plywood?
Yeah, there would be wood and bricks here.
Can you not see that down bottom though?
Like right here?
Like a belly button looking area. Like right there's a face right there with a mouth open.
I didn't see that.
No, to the right of whatever you're touching. Or maybe it's the left of you.
Hold on. Trevor.
Yes.
Move an inch to the right.
That way?
No, the other way. Yeah, I thought it would be right there.
Oh, this?
Yeah, what is that?
I don't. It may just be because I turned up the contrast too much. I'm not sure.
No, is that not a face? How's that not a face?
I don't know. I ain't seeing what you're saying.
You ain't seeing what I'm saying. Is anybody else seeing that? Am I just tripping balls?
I just see a group.
It could be 1987 coming back to bite me.
Let me go into the original picture with the contrast turned down.
I see the mouth, nose, eyes. I mean, I don't understand what you're not seeing.
Okay, let me see that.
It looks like a face, right, Kaylee? Expect you back it out, and right when you edge in a little bit, you see it like really clear. It looks like it's something protruding out of a stomach or something. I don't know.
Okay, no, I'm looking at the original picture, and there's nothing there that I can see.
There's nothing there.
Here,
I swap it. You swap it up.
Well, I'm looking on my phone.
Yeah, throw your phone up. Throw your phone up.
Hold your phone up to the camera.
All right.
Minus the boobies.
I don't.
All right, so it's like a flash. Like there's actually just a reflection of light.
Is that the area?
I don't remember.
Pareidolia. Yeah, it could be, Bob. I guess that could be it. It definitely looked like a face, though, right? Periodola or not? Olea. Okay. Road. It just looked interesting to me.
But yeah.
It just looked interesting to me. That's all. I was like, wait, what the hell's that down there?
We got 3 minutes left.
Yeah, 2 minutes left. All right, great. Definitely like and subscribe to Banter Richie B on YouTube.
You know what, everybody? So I'm having a hard time because Facebook requires 100 followers now. Promoting your own thing. Why don't you follow Get Moderated over
That's
on
what
Facebook.
We do here. So we all promote.
Get moderated.
Banter with Richie B. He's got an absolutely phenomenal podcast going over there, talking some Sand Squanch.
Thank you. My first cast.
And
really? Where'd you grab it?
Right about a mile from my house.
Oh, that's where I walk.
Oh, bro, I got some news for you, buddy.
Yeah.
It's about 14 inches, about 6 inches across, ball to ball. It had a stick and stuck in it, so I
grabbed it. It's like, I'm 16 inches. I'm kidding.
Yeah, right.
15 and a half, 7 across.
Wow, you big boy.
Oh,
you know what they say.
That's why I never call my wife.
Yeah, they know what you say. He's Irish, so he's lying.
Yeah.
But
well, if they say big cars, what is it? Big trucks are a sign of a. And
yeah.
Big shoes are a sign of a.
I drive a minivan.
It explains why people are terrified of clowns.
A big boat, a big boat, and a big boat, and a little Johnson.
Yeah.
But
Trevor,
yes.
come on,
block your ears.
plug.
Yes, the only plug that I really want to do is on Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 Central. I am rebooting my podcast career back up because I too many side projects to run my own. So me and Bill Bryan from Empty Casket Paranormal are starting our own podcast on Wednesdays, on every other Wednesday, called the Haunted Casket Podcast. And we're just going to be doing talking about topics in the paranormal, doing some paranormal themed funny games, and having guests on. And also, this next Friday will be the last Friday. This next Friday will be the last Friday that I will be planned to be on. I had a guest lined up for my podcast before we made this change. But this live show will not really be a podcast. It'll be a live investigation with a hint of event promo.
Nice.
9 Lives Paranormal. We'll be doing an event with House of Freya again. And we'll be doing an event promo for their event while also doing a live investigation from their place.
Awesome. Definitely check that out. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And so, Richie, I think because we are so close in proximity and the fact that we're like 2 towns over.
Yes.
We need to do a shared event, man. We need to go live at a shared event. We need to get you over at Heart Stuff, or we're going to get you over to Hurt and Pain. Have you in for the evening.
Dude, I'm game for everything all the time. I've been popping off appearances, doing live out in the woods. You can come out with me and look for some Sasquatch. I could use your skeptic brain. That'd be great.
Hell yeah, man! I'm totally game. I will be a Bigfoot hunter. I'll come out there with my 308 and
trust me. There's most people that come with me are strapped because the area that I'm in right now is very, very hot.
Coyotes?
No. I wish it was just coyotes. I'm not worried about coyotes. I'll knuckle them fools. But what we're looking at and the evidence that we're finding, it is to me becoming more and more apparent that I'm dealing with something bipedal and a good size. I'm finding shattered leg bones with marrow missing out of it, and it's what we're dealing with. And so if you come on my lives, if I may. On YouTube, Banter with Richie B. You click the notify button. You'll know when we're going out and doing a live investigation in the woods. There'll be one probably every weekend, anyways, and sometimes during the week. We got a nighttime coming up, and this area is pretty hot. And a lot of the guys that actually go out now, they're definitely strapped because we've decided that we have to be a little more careful because we don't know what we're dealing with out there. And we've been in some pretty scary situations, flankings and things like that. And it's right here in our backyard, literally right Middleborough, Bridgewater, right in the triangle. So, make sure you join me on YouTube. Absolutely. You can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, all Banter with Richie B. I'm always posting different evidence. And I use a 3D scanner called Scaniverse. I have a lot of cool prints that you can see, again, that are found right here in our backyard. And I'm telling you, bro, once you get out there, I don't lead anybody on. You can look for yourself and make your own determination. If you need a question or an answer for educational purposes, then I'm your guy. But other than that, I don't point and say, look at this is what I'm saying. I don't give a shit. If you don't see what if you don't see what I see, that's your thing. You know, I respect it. You know what I mean? And so I have Sasquatching with a skeptic. I've done all that before. So it's a fun thing to do, but it's real, and we're very passionate about it. So thanks for having me tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Coming on, man. I appreciate
sorry Sin caused so much trouble. You caused a lot of trouble tonight.
Trevor, also thank you so much for coming on. I always love having additional voices.
Of course.
Just as a final thing here to everybody out there, thank you very much for joining us.
Yes.
Your interaction, your participation in this is really what keeps our conversations going. And truly, I feel very thankful that I'm given the platform and the opportunity to talk to you guys about my very narrow perspectives. And I love the fact that I have other people on here that are of contradictory nature. And it's great. These kind of conversations, we keep it respectful, and we genuinely have a discourse where we don't always have to agree, but at the end of the day, we still respect each other. So thank you all. Take care of each other. Stay blessed. Thank you, and good night.
And keep climbing. Let's go.
Pineapple don't belong on pizza.
Trevor, you're done.